verses 37, 38 and 39, Arjuna asks Shri Krishna a question, that he who cannot control himself, though he has faith, with the mind wandering away from yoga, failing to attain perfection in yoga, what way does he go, O Krishna? Does he not perish like a rent cloud, O mighty Lord Krishna, fallen from both and without any hold and bewildered in a path that leads to the eternal? You should dispel completely this, my doubt, O Krishna, for there is none else than you who can destroy this doubt. In the 34th verse, Arjuna used the word jalit, wandering, to describe the mind of someone that has begun performing penances and walking in path of yoga, but then becomes wandering. Arjuna's question here is very human, because a person who is about to begin a worship or penances will always have these questions, that it is fine that we should perform dhyan meditation, but will the material world go away according to the amount of dhyan meditation we do? Will our attention on the material world really reduce that much? And what will happen to us if we do not attain the Supreme Soul? And Arjuna gives reasons here. He describes a person who cannot control himself and who has his mind wandering away, and yet he is a person with faith. Arjuna is not interested in knowing what happens when a person does not have faith, because he already knows what happens to such a person. He asks about a person who has faith, yet his efforts fall short. Arjuna asks what way such a person goes and what he attains. In these verses, Arjuna asks whether the person who has fallen away from the path of Brahman because of bewilderment perishes like a rent cloud. Arjuna asks whether such a person falls from both paths and also dies in material life. This is Arjuna's doubt, that if a person has gone on the path of penances and has not achieved success, then what happens to him? In the last verse of these 3 verses, Arjuna asks Shri Krishna to dispel completely his doubt and says that there is nobody else other than Shri Krishna who can destroy this doubt. In this verse, Arjuna addresses Shri Krishna by the name of Krishna, and there is a reason why he addresses him so. The meaning of Krishna is Karshayati iti Krishna, one who pulls one towards him, one who attracts all towards him, and who holds on to one is Krishna. Therefore Arjuna is saying, Lord, you are one to pull individual souls towards you, and you are one who attracts all to you. How do you then pull towards you and hold on to such a person who has become yoga brushed? This is a word of the Gita, meaning fallen from the path of the yoga. And where do you make him go? The meaning of Shri Krishna is Kashyati iti Krishna, and Arjuna is therefore asking the question with this very same meaning. The fact that Shri Krishna pulls one towards him is certain, and Shri Krishna decides where an individual soul goes. So Arjuna asks Shri Krishna how he takes an individual soul who has become yoga brushed, fallen from the path of yoga. Arjuna is absolutely human, and it is absolutely natural for him to ask this question. Even we have the question that we can see the material world, but if we leave the material world and do not get that which we seek, then what happens to us? Jina Brahm Eva. Arjuna asks whether such a person perishes like a rent cloud. This example is worth understanding. There are 2 big clouds, and out of one of the clouds, a small cloud comes off as a part. The small cloud tries to go towards the other big cloud, but the wind blows it back, and the small cloud gets disintegrated. The small cloud separated from the big first cloud, but did not reach the second big cloud, and gets disintegrated. Arjuna asks whether this also happens to a person who has become yoga brushed, fallen from the path of yoga. If someone comes out of the material world, and at the time of his death, and yet he has not attained God, then what happens to them? Does he not perish? Arjuna asks this straight away. Does this person not perish? Thinkers have thought a lot about the example of the rent cloud. We have to interpret this example of the cloud in a limited meaning. There is a reason for this. A small cloud that has separated from the big cloud is itself a cloud and goes to meet the other clouds. Therefore, in this meaning, the original big cloud, the small cloud that has separated from the big cloud, and the second big cloud that the small cloud is going towards, all of these are clouds. There is only one nature in all 3 of them. All 3 of them are composed of water. All 3 of them are matter, whereas the clouds that Arjuna is talking about here are individual soul that has separated from the material world, who perishes before attaining the Supreme Soul. Therefore, Arjuna is asking about the material world, the individual soul, and the Supreme Soul. All 3 of these are not one. They are all not of the same class. They are all not of the same quality, whereas in Arjuna's example of the cloud, all 3 of them were of the same quality. i.e. the first big cloud, the small cloud, and a second big cloud. All three of them were clouds. There is a difference in the quality when it comes to what Arjuna was talking about. The material world is matter, the individual soul itself is a form of soul consciousness, and the supreme soul is a form of ultimate conscious, with an ultimate C for ultimate, ultimate U for ultimate, and ultimate C for consciousness, ultimate consciousness. The individual soul and the supreme soul are forms of consciousness, and the material world is matter. Therefore, the individual soul and the material world cannot be regarded as similar. Thirdly, the individual soul itself is not a part of the material world. In the cloud example, initially both the first big cloud and second cloud, one and the second cloud came out of the big first cloud. The individual soul comes out of the material world, but the individual soul is not of the material world. The individual soul is not part and parcel of the material world, as the material world is matter. This is the inertia and the rule of the material world, but this is not the nature of the individual soul. The small cloud that came out of the first big cloud was a part of the first big cloud. The individual soul comes out of the material world, but the individual soul is not a part of the material world. In fact, it was an illusion of the individual soul in considering that it was a part of the material world. The individual soul is a part that has split off for something, and that is, in reality, the supreme soul that it is going towards. The individual soul is part and parcel of the supreme soul. Therefore, there is a limitation in Arjuna's comparison, and we must remember this. Why then is Arjuna making this comparison? Arjuna makes this comparison because of a limitation. He is asking that if someone comes out of one refuge and does not reach another refuge, then what happens to such a person? Over here, the example of the clouds falls short. If we apply this example to why Arjuna is asking this, then it makes a lot of difference. What Arjuna means to say by this example is, if someone comes out on one refuge that is clinging to him and does not reach the second refuge, then what happens to him? Arjuna uses the words Kachit Ubre Vivashta in the 38th verse, meaning fallen from both. Why is Arjuna saying fallen from both? Whose fault is in this? The reason is worth thinking about. First of all, a person on the path of yoga leaves the material world full of understanding. He leaves the material world out of maturity. He does not leave it by saying the material world is bad and the material world is useless. He just thinks that he has had enough of the material world. He becomes saturated with the material world. A person who is frustrated with the material world does not become successful in yoga. Shri Krishna said, Anivin na chestasha. If a person says that the material world is bad and is contemptuous of it, then this becomes escapism, and this also does not lead to success on the path of yoga. The material world is good, and God has created the material world, but it is limited, and you want to come out of this. A homemade sweet is nice, especially if your mother has made it for you. But when you are hungry, you had one sweet. Does this mean that you have to keep eating it because your mother has made it? If you do so, then you will die out of non-stop eating of sweets. After eating the sweet, you should stop doing so when you are full. In the same way, you came out of the material world because God has sent you into the material world. The material world is nice because God has created Isha Vasyam Sarvam. But such a state comes where a person feels that he wants to go above the material world. This is because you have not sat by your mother only to eat the sweets. Your stomach is full, and so you tell mother, let us sit down and talk to each other for long. Does the child not say this? Mother, I am full, so can you now put me to bed? In the same way, the devotee says, God, I have come into the material world, I have had interest in the material world, and now it has become saturated. God, I want to sit down and talk to you. Now you have no need for the sweets. Non-attachment should come with this reason behind it. Until now, we've only seen non-attachment in the form of running away from the world. We've only seen escapist non-attachment. After filling your stomach, do you not have non-attachment towards sweets? You do. It is the same with the material world. You have to grow. You have to bring maturity to it. Only then would non-attachment arise. Only then would non-attachment last. If you keep sweets away from your eyes, then this does not lead to non-attachment. In fact, you keep thinking about the sweets in your mind, and water keeps coming out of your mouth. If the material world has been pulled away from someone's eyes, when someone has pushed the material world away from them, then that person has the same difficulties. On the other hand, you have the attraction towards the material world, and on the other hand, you could not hold on to it. This is the state that the person is in. Arjuna is talking about a person who has made a mature decision that he wishes to get out of the material world, but despite making efforts and making these efforts authentically, he does not attain to yoga. Such a person does not get the siddhi spiritual powers. Before this happens, the body passes away. Secondly, Arjuna wishes to know that if a person attains yoga, experiences the supreme truth, attains siddhi spiritual powers after walking in the path of yoga, and becomes one with that on which he was performing dhyan meditation, then whether he could be separated from the supreme truth. This is a very big question. If one performs dhyan meditation in order to attain God, makes efforts for years and then attains God, is it still possible for him once again to go away from God? This is because he has developed through several births. Will it be possible to still be separated from God once such a person has attained God? How can you call this fallen? If we were to look at it from the metaphysical perspective, then if you have attained an object, then you can leave it. But how can a person leave the supreme soul? This is because when one attains knowledge, then the knowledge one gains is that I was never separate from God. This is what the pure knowledge is. After one attains God and one attains that on which he was performing dhyan meditation, then there are experiences he gets such as Aham Brahmasmi, I am God, and I am Atma Brahman. I am the soul that is Brahman. You are the supreme soul, and once you know this, then how can you be separated from this? At the moment it's fine because there is ignorance, but after practice and practice one reaches the state where he has acquired knowledge and knows that he is Brahman. How then can he fall? Poet devotees have said it very nicely. First of all, he cannot fall. He cannot fall. Poet devotees have said it very nicely. Kabir sang, Lali meri lal ki jo dekhu te lal, lali dekhan me gahi, mahi me ho gahi lal. The color of my beloved God is red. Wherever I look there is red. Why I went to see this red? When I went to see this red, then I myself turned red. After he attained Brahman, then he became red and cannot be different. Then how can one fall? There is a reason why Arjuna used the word yoga brushed. This is the word of the Gita meaning fallen from the path of yoga. Arjuna also uses the word vimuho because of bewilderment. If a person on the path of yoga has left the material world, but because of bewilderment he gets shaken from the path of penances, then this is as a result of the person's own mistake. This is because if he did not get shaken, then you cannot say that he has fallen from the path of yoga. We made this mistake over and over again. That is why Arjuna is our representative. Arjuna is asking, God, it is your grace that we meet such great saints and wise people. We come towards you and we get to find out about you, but after walking a few steps on this path, we get shaken from this path. Then, if that happens, what will happen to us, God? God, this is our mistake. Question is not Arjuna's, but yours, mine, and all of ours. We make this mistake. In verse 39, Arjuna uses the word asheshtaha and asks Krishna to completely root out his doubt. Shesh means something that still remains or is still left, and asheshta means that thing has gone completely. If doubts still remain, then those doubts have not gone. And in Gita, Shri Krishna does one thing. He cuts the heads of all doubts. No asheshtaha remains. As soon as Shri Krishna destroys one doubt, then another one manifests itself. And when he destroys that one, then the third one comes out. That is why Arjuna kept asking questions. And it is Arjuna's request regarding asheshta that Shri Krishna completely dispels this doubt. Completely. Secondly, only when remaining doubts go away, then it is of use, otherwise the doubt has not been healed. Even if a little is left, then it will start blowing up again. This doubt must go away completely, and whoever can there be greater than God to dispel these doubts? This is because when we human beings try to remove our doubts, and we do so with fear, this is because we ourselves are in doubt, and we try to become like wise people. If there are a lot of questions in one's mind, and if someone comes to ask us, then we cannot say authentically that we do not know the answer. If someone asks us, then we should feel as if we should know. We find it hard to say no. We find it impossible to say no, then everything gets ruined. If a patient goes to a doctor about a specific problem, and the doctor does not know anything about the problem, then the doctor cannot say that he does not know anything about it, and that the patient should go to someone else who is more intelligent or more the specialist in that matter. No, the doctor will try to find out everything himself first. The patient's money gets wasted on tests that are not futile, and the doctor muddles everything up. Then what can this poor patient do? It is a very good quality to be able to say that I do not know how to do it, I am not able to do this. And the majority of human beings do not have this quality. That is why we try to make efforts to make doubts go away, but we do so with fear. When a fatherless son asks his father, "Father, who created this world?" then his father does not have a clue who created this world, yet the father would not want to tell his son that he does not know. What can we do about this ego? Why can the father not say, "Son, I do not know"? Instead, the father tells him, "Son, God created this world," and as soon as he gives his answer, then a fear arises in his father's mind that I hope that he does not ask me who created God. This is because the doubt will come in the father's mind. The father knows who created this doubt, but if the son asks about who created God, then what answer will the father give? That is why, when we try to dispel someone's doubt ourselves, then at that time we also have a fear in our minds that I hope he does not ask me another question after this. Therefore, these doubts have not become a shishta dispelled completely. That is why Arjuna tells Shri Krishna that there is no one other than Shri Krishna looking to destroy this doubt completely. Shri Krishna is the only one that can completely root out this doubt. Shri Krishna is the only person who can crush this doubt in its totality. Who else could Arjuna turn to? That is why Arjuna turned to Shri Krishna to ask for the answer to this question. Shri Krishna begins giving his answer from the next verse, the 40th verse.